An unbelievable job, I assure you, by our man Rick Morris from the FDH Lounge. The original Cleveland Baron joins us right now to talk a little Cleveland Indians et al. Hello, Rick. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, buddy. I appreciate the Cleveland Baron shout-out there. It's wonderful to be coming at you from the City of Champions. Of course, not just the Cavs, but the Calder Cup champion Lake Erie Monsters and the baddest man on the planet, Steve Miocic.
You believe this guy, Steve? He wins the championship, coming back from 3-1 down, and now he's a little, chest all puffed up, huh? What do you think of that? What's going on out there?
I think he's been holding it in for a long time, and certainly a town like Cleveland, where I spent a lot of time, is a great sports town, and they deserve the one, and they might just get a second one, tonight or tomorrow.
In terms of regression to the mean, you got to wonder about that, guys, because we always just thought historically one would happen, and you wonder. But, Joe, I said on your show, 52 years, it'll never happen again. You'll never see a city with 3 major sports teams. 2 years in there, it was 4 teams with the 2 years of the Barons in the NHL. I added it up. That's 151 championships between the 1964 Browns and the 2016 Cavs. 151 is what we needed to pound to get through a good part of that time, to be honest with you here. We're on the verge of 2 in a row. The Cavs are the last one to be awarded. But, guys, I'm a little worried here in terms of 3 in a row. The Browns, at this rate, might not even make the playoffs, fellas. I'm worried about 3 in a row.
Hey, this is the week it begins against Big D coming off that big win over the Birds. This is where they turn it around.
Yeah.
They got Jamie Collins. They're all set to go from here on out.
Good news for your guys. If ever there was anybody Dallas was going to sleep on, it would be the Brownies.
Rick, the Eagles kind of went to sleep in the fourth quarter there, so certainly would be apropos.
I assume, Rick, that if you're a Browns fan, which I know you are, that you guys are already looking towards the draft to see who's available. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be like a franchise quarterback, although maybe you'll tell me now Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback, and, they took him late, and we all know the Tom Brady 6th-round story. But I'm guessing if you're a Browns fan, and let me tell you, Jamie Collins, I think, is the most athletic linebacker in the NFL, period. Unfortunately, as I've said on this show and your show, I have to watch every Patriots game because my son is a Patriots fan. This guy is an athletic beast. But I think the Patriots, and I know we'll get to football later, so I'll save it, I think they actually have a replacement who's going to be okay, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, yeah, we already spent a 3rd-round pick on him for next year. I still say Deshaun Watson. He's having kind of a tough year. That's who I want to see number 1 overall. You're getting a lot of the revisionist kind of dribble right now. Oh, I'm not sure he's so good. I'm not sure he's so accurate. Yeah, he's getting picked apart. I guess silly season's coming a little early. They usually wait until after the season for that kind of garbage.
Yeah, nice comeback win over FSU the other night. So I'll still take my shot with Deshaun Watson, and you guys might have another crack at it after passing up on Carson Wentz. Jury's still out on him, but Rick, let's get last week, big night. I talked to you that morning, the ring ceremony, and then you win a big World Series game. Tell us what the feeling like in your town was, because I know what it's like to go through droughts that last decades, and here you're celebrating a championship on one venue, and the other one's about to kick off a World Series. What was it like in Cleveland last week?
I mean, I'm not even sure it does justice to it to say that, because everybody was saying biggest day in the history of Cleveland sports. I mean, I don't even know what number 2 would be. For most cities, I think that would be the case, because to have something like that kind of confluence is just remarkable. And when we look at the landscape of 2016, not just sports, but everyone going, oh, that's so 2016. I mean, in the sports world, Cleveland encapsulates it better than anybody, because in a year of oddities across the landscape, us becoming the sports capital of the world was the unlikeliest on paper at the start of the year. Yeah, the Cavs were a strong co-favorite probably to win the NBA championship, but everything else from Stipe on down has just been wonderful to kind of see. But that night, you just, again, the pride that came out of it, the sort of symbiosis, people might scoff at that, but it's true. Everybody is kind of feeding off of everybody else. They moved the Cavs game up to 6 o'clock tonight, and Kyrie said, we're coming over to watch it in a box when we're done. I mean, there's a very, very real symbiosis between the players in this town that's just remarkable to see.
And Rick, I would say I was surprised that they didn't do that last week, but I guess that was a TNT game maybe.
Yes.
That's why they moved up the ring ceremony but not the game, and I thought they should have moved up the game. I thought TNT should have just gone on earlier. But one other thing I want to tell you that's interesting, I think we talked about it off air. Eddie Robinson is the sole surviving member of the 1948 Indians, and he was a heck of a player. I looked him up. He started first base for the Indians, was actually traded after they won the 1948 World Series, had some key hits in that series, became a 4-time All-Star. He's 95 years old, living in Texas, and there was an article in the New York Daily News like 10 days ago that nobody had contacted him. Thankfully, somebody told the Indians this, and apparently Eddie Robinson is going to be there tonight, 95 years old. But apparently, finally, the Indians woke up and invited him, and I think this is a fascinating / good thing. I thought it would have been done in the first or second game. So obviously, everybody's getting online, hoping that the Indians can win their first World Series, obviously, since 1948.
Well, better late than never. That guy is going to get the mother of all standing O's when it happens, and you're going to be seeing a lot of that kind of stuff tonight. You guys may or may not have heard, throwing out the first pitch tonight, El Presidente, Dennis Martinez. I mean, it's not just VH1 that says we love the 90s. We love the 90s in Cleveland when it comes to this Indians team. So, El Presidente is going to get a roar out of that crowd that is going to hopefully only be rivaled by the end of the game.
Rick, let me ask you something, because I always believed that, when the Red Sox finally got off the proverbial schneid, maybe I think that they made their peace with Bill Buckner, and then they went on to win 2 more World Series. And then, Buckner is now, certainly a historical figure in Boston for maybe negative reasons. But I think the peace has been made with him. I think if the Cubs win, maybe the whole Bartman thing goes by the wayside. Maybe he throws out the first pitch at the opener next year. What is this feeling when you go back and you look at 97, 1-run lead in the 9th, and Charles Nagy in the 11th, and the error by Tony Fernandez, and Edgar Renteria throwing out Alomar at home, then getting the hit, and kind of blowing that game, a possible World Series at home. Is all that forgiven already, or does that kind of get exercised if you guys end up pulling off this World Series?
Partial redemption already. You look at the fact that, again, I was very glad to see this. Ernest Biner had a float in the Cavs parade this year. So as far as overall Cleveland sports misery, that's been forgiven. But as far as the Indians go, that's a distinct thing. And I always scoffed at other cities before we won our championship with the Cavs. And I said, well, if you're a Cubs fan, you have all these titles in other sports, and same with the Red Sox. If you were a Red Sox fan during your drought, well, now I'm that guy. I mean, people are looking at me going, well, you got yours. But the Indians, again, 1920, 1948, and that's it, i.e. it's never happened in my lifetime. So we've got to wait for this thing to be done, I'd say, for the slate to be clear with all of the guys here. Jose Mesa and Hargrove bringing him in the 9th inning is the main thing that people have just kind of hung on to. And it's a thing here, too. It's probably similar with you, Joe, because the Eagles, I know, and this is where I give Philly credit, because as an outsider, I find it hard to kind of rank the teams 1 to 4, because you guys are so serious about all of them. I get the sense it's probably Eagles number 1. It's certainly Browns number 1, all things being equal in this town. But as with Philadelphia, the Indians are the team with the longest lineage. My mom, my grandparents, my dad's not as big of a pro sports fan, but certainly my mom always was. And that's what we carry down from generation to generation. And it's for all of them that moment is going to have the most weight, I think, when it's over with.
And I will say this, Rick, and I've been to Progressive a number of times with my son. Beautiful place, great place to watch a game. They have the best Hall of Fame in center field there. I think it's much better than Monument Park at Yankee Stadium, and that's a big statement coming from a Yankee fan. Plus, you can go there during the game, which you can't in New York. But having said that, I commented to my son, not knowing this was going to happen, but certainly thought the Indians could win the American League pennant and had a chance anyway. Wouldn't it be great if they had this fantastic Hall of Fame that you can walk into during the game, and they had some guys like from modern times, because you're looking at, the guys, you're looking at Feller and guy Lou Boudreau, going back to 1920, with the unassisted triple play, but you don't really have a whole lot of recent guys. You do have some guys from the late 90s, but wouldn't it be great, and how much better will that Hall of Fame be if the Indians do win the World Series? Because you'll be having guys in there probably in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. They'll make a whole section for that World Series victory.
Oh, absolutely. And again, and there's the sense, too, when you look at this, there's a much bigger, I think, sense, and justifiably so. The Cubs are going to be back, and look, the Cubs, it's hard to say about a team that hasn't won since 1908, but the Cubs are going to get theirs, and it's going to be more than one the next couple of years. They're a juggernaut. They're loaded. With the Indians, the pitching staff is always going to give them a chance getting to the playoffs, and this division is still pretty weak. So there's a good chance that they'll be back in the next couple of years and manage to get another one. It's interesting because in the NBA, we've seen it a lot in the last 10 years or so, teams coming back and facing each other again, if not the next year, then the year after that. You don't get that as much in other sports, even with teams that are always there, that are always in the conversation. You don't tend to get teams matching up again. This series, from a rating standpoint, has been a bonanza for Major League Baseball relative to where they've been. And I would say there's a decent chance it's not the last time we'll see these two teams together in the next couple of years.
Rick, last one before I let you go. Terry Francona obviously wasn't good enough to manage here in Philly. He got run out of town on a rail, and then he goes and wins 2 championships with Boston. He's about to win another one in Cleveland. I remember reading a story. His first his first game, regular season game in 2013 with the Indians, he decided to walk to the park because he lived somewhere close. He couldn't find the park. He had to ask someone how to get to the park. He lost his bearings. I think it's just, when you think about it, it's mind-boggling. In 3 years now, he's about to take that team who hasn't won since 1948, like you mentioned, and win his third World Series potentially, second with two, a different team. Your thoughts on Tito, what he's done for this club, how much he's impacted the success of the Indians, and how he's managed so far in the postseason?
Well, it was remarkable because, again, assuming the good guys go on to finish this thing, I wasn't so sure it would be the case at the outset, but I do believe it's going to be the case, and I do believe it'll be the case in Game 6. We never would have thought, in seeing both Theo Epstein in 2004 and Terry Francona, that both of them would go on to replicate that feat with other teams. I know Epstein will, even if it's not now. Terry Francona's got the chance to do it here and now. I think, again, when you're talking about the best managers in baseball, in whatever order, it's Francona, Madden, Bochy. I think you draw a line under those three guys. Mickey Callaway, equally importantly, is the best coach in baseball, period. I don't even want to hear anybody else's name because what Mickey Callaway has done with this staff is nothing short of remarkable. Very few of these guys even had big pedigrees coming in here. And he has just really done so much with them. And last but not least, to bring it full circle, I was thinking about this as well. Terry Francona, a lot of times in this team, in this town, is referred to by his dad's name of Tito. He's sort of been nicknamed that. Tito Francona, one of the great players here in the late 50s, early 60s. We talk about the curse of the Rock in this town. Rocky Colavito. It's going to be the son of one of his teammates that helps bring it home. That's all I got to say.
Well, Rick, enjoy yourself. Enjoy the moment. If it happens tonight or tomorrow, certainly we wish you the best of luck. And thanks, as always, for your insight. It's always a pleasure to have you on, my friend. Good talking to you again. Love you guys and love talking about this. Thank you so much. All right, Rick, take care, my friend. Good luck to you. Rick Morris going for his second ring in the last 6 months. Unbelievable